everybody. Happy Thursday. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes Podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Merrill here with Craig Morgan and Steve Peters, as usual, but today we are very excited to welcome a very special guest, one of our earliest ever guests on this show, in fact, but this is his first time with us live and in studio, former Arizona Coyote Ray Whitney. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you guys. I mean, I talked to you on the phone, but it's nice to be in person.
Whit, did you pack a bag for this trip?
Well, I just finished saying, my Potvin came from Tucson, and we about the same distance, I think, to get here. But it's always good to see some of the valley I don't get a chance to see, I suppose.
Well, thanks for joining us in studio here in the valley, here downtown. What have you been up to? What's keeping you busy these days?
Well, kids, believe it or not, my youngest is playing volleyball, and thank goodness for that, because soccer was torture to me. 90 minutes outside in the heat watching everybody chase.
Did you play soccer?
No, I wouldn't play that sport. No.
0-0 again. He's a guy that likes to score goals. 0-0. Let's score 0-0. Really? 0-0 again?
I almost had 3 assists today, Dad. Almost. But we missed the net.
Exactly.
And then that's not big enough. So she's playing volleyball. And thank goodness for that. I really enjoy that. And then my 18-year-old son's got one more year here playing for the junior Coyotes. And he's loving that. So we were in Minnesota last weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, that was not fun. You're thankful. I mean, I know it's cold here in the desert right now, but
You're not shoveling snow in the driveway.
This is not
50
cold.
degrees and wind?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, it's been good. So other than that, obviously still doing the player safety stuff, which, I get message from you every now and then, popping your head in there and checking what's going on. So that's always fun to be part of the league still. And, I was at the All-Star game for our department puts that on. So some changes need to be made there as well, which is another topic. But I've been busy, believe it or not, is more busy than I thought I would be.
We talk about a lot of the players in the Valley that have kids playing hockey here. Just want to know, do you ever go out on the ice with the team? And some guys coach, some guys are kind of more distant. Where are you falling in that?
Well, I coached my son's team for 5 years or 6 years. This is the first year I haven't coached. I coached last year with Dave Ellett.
Oh, yeah.
So I got, believe it or not, growing up, a lot of the kids I've coached, there's probably 7 of them I think are playing major junior now. So, one of them's on the draft radar. A couple of them are on the draft radar for the NHL. So it's kind of fun when you have some kind of impact on them. This year, Mike DeAngelis, who runs the elite program down there in Scottsdale, he's the head coach, and Steve Sullivan's back on the bench with him, and Shane Harvey. So he's got good coaching, and it's nice to be able to sit in the crowd and watch and not have to come up with a practice plan, yell, deal with parents. I'm one of the parents they have to deal with now, unfortunately. But
Are you a bad parent?
Not a bad parent. I mean, I guess it's, you guys know me. I got opinions about everything. So I'm sure I'm not the best parent, but I've been doing my best to keep my mouth shut and stay out of the way as best I can.
So obviously the weather is a big draw to being here, but you played for 8 different franchises. What led you to choose to want to live in the Valley?
Well, my family and my wife's family both have places down here. My wife's family, their grandparents, had a place in Mesa. So she's been coming here since she was probably 6 or 7 years old. And then once I played here, my mom and dad were down here. They ended up getting a place in Glendale, or Goodyear, which is near Glendale. So they have a place here. My wife's parents still have a place in Mesa. So we were going to retire in Carolina for obvious reasons. You win a cup somewhere, it's kind of has a special place in your heart. But it's a full day to get there. And so if somebody's going to come and visit you, it's more expensive. It's a long day of travel. So she pulled an audible during the lockout, and was it 2012 we got locked out? I know, I was part of 3 of them, so okay. 2012, I think.
Yeah,
so
right
we came back for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And the house we're in now, she liked when we were renting here. She looked at it a couple times, so it was on the market again. So we bought it, and that was our 5th house at the time. It was good.
I thought you stayed because of me, but
well, you're one of the
reasons. Big draw.
Yeah,
for sure. For all of us.
Yeah.
Are you still, by the way, an avid mountain biker, which I kind of view as an extreme sport in the desert?
No, I never did mountain bike.
I thought you were.
No, I'm a road
How did
biker.
I get this wrong?
So that's good research, Craig.
Okay, my bad.
Road
bike.
bike.
That's a little less extreme.
No, that
because going through the desert's nuts.
No, I did it a couple times with some friends of mine who did that for a living. No, that's not for me. There's too many rocks. There's cactus. It's one bad turn,
yeah,
and
you're
you're,
done.
that's not
You
for
road
me.
bike though?
I did road bike for
Do you have
for a
matching
long time.
suit with like sponsors on the side?
Yeah, I had the whole.
You did not.
Yeah, oh yeah, I looked like I was.
I yell at those people every
Mammal.
Oh, I
goddamn
know.
weekend
So
in Scottsdale.
Middle-aged men in
Yeah.
lycra.
Yes.
Mammal. That's what I call them.
But I'd ride on my own most of the time, and I'd hit up. But now there's too much traffic now, and there's just too many people getting hit. So I'm a Peloton fan. So I have my Peloton bike, and I'm on that thing as much as I can. I've been a little lazy the last couple of months, I'll be honest. But summer's coming, so I got to get back to the work on the body again. So I'll be back on that bike here.
Craig has that, and he uses his for a clothes dryer when they
Yeah, they're also
Dries
great for
t-shirt.
hanging stuff up. They're also great for hanging stuff up. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoy still riding the bike and still training.
Yeah.
So.
Did you like wearing the biker's outfits? Though? We got to get back to that for a moment.
Yeah.
Have
I
you seen
did.
with the helmet, the cone helmet
Oh,
for
man.
speed, and
You should saw when I was
7-Eleven on the side.
So when I was in Carolina still, I had one of those old Cybex bikes, kind of an old grinding bike, and the Tour de France is on. It's in July, and I'd watch every day. I'd watch the tour. So I put the whole outfit on. I put the goggles and I put the hat on.
While you're
the
watching.
helmet, waiting for my wife to come upstairs. And I have it, and I put the bike right in front of the bed, and I'm grinding, and I got the towel underneath, so I'm sweating pretty good. I'm on there for over an hour, waiting for her to come up. And I'm not. Finally, she comes up, and she walks to the bedroom, and I'm sitting right in front of the mirror, and I got my whole outfit on, got my gloves, I got everything. And she just looked at me. She started dying laughing because you're such a freaking idiot.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, she goes, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "Anything for a giggle. I'll sit there and sweat for an hour trying to get a giggle out of somebody."
Honey, where are you?
You better come pretty soon because I'm going to drop here right away.
Yeah. That's a great image, but
Oh boy, that's hilarious. Oh man.
So you're part of the brain trust for NHL Player Safety. I'm well aware of that, obviously.
Mhm.
Let's dive into that a little bit.
All right.
There's a lot of I know you guys have done a better job being transparent recently, like putting videos out, explaining the process, but maybe still describe the day-to-day, the challenges you face, and maybe a lot of the misconceptions that are still out there about the job and how you guys do things.
Well, first of all, it's a job it's a thankless job, I guess you could say, because no matter what you do in terms of your decision, you're going to offend somebody. Somebody's going to be on the wrong side of your decision. Whether that be the players, be the coaches, the general manager, the fans, somebody's going to be pissed off at you. But that's I have thick skin. I could care less if people get mad at me. I've had many coaches all mad at me all the time, so that I'm used to that part.
hard to believe.
But a typical day like tonight's going to be a big night for us. I think it's probably 12 games on. Thursday nights are big games. It's probably 12 or 13 games on tonight. So our guys in New York do a great job cutting video. By the way, it's not easy, but they have a home and away screen. We have two guys in there, Damien Archivetta and Patrick Burke, that one of those guys are always in New York in that room. So when these guys are cutting video, something will happen in the game and they'll yell back at them, what do you think of this one? And they'll look at it. It's either a yes or a no. And if it's a yes, they'll clip it, both feeds, and they'll send it to the rest of our department. And that means George, myself, Stefan Quintal, and those two guys will all get it. And we'll look at all those clips. And really, you're just looking at them. You're not really doing anything unless George, the boss, he sends an email and says, "We need your thoughts on this one."
Yep.
So then I just write an email of, do I think it's anything? Do I think it's a fine, a warning, suspension, or nothing? A lot of times, I hate to tell you guys, but I'm on the nothing side because I still like to see some integrity in our game. But if he decides that he likes it or doesn't like it, you're on call basically every day. So if we had our appointment today at 11 o'clock and something happened last night, I could have an 11 o'clock hearing today. So you got to be flexible with your schedule a little bit in terms of being available for those hearings. And then once you have the hearing, you listen to the player, you listen to the GM, the agent, and the player association gets on there as well to make sure things are done in order and correctly. So then we just deliberate from there and come up with our decision. And like I said, our decisions will be happy, pissing some people off and making others happy. And even the ones, if we do go one way, think it should be more or should be less. And I guess it makes people feel better when somebody gets suspended. I don't know what it really does for your team, the team that you're going to suspend from. They've already played the game.
Yeah.
They've moved on. I'm not sure how it makes you feel better in any way.
Because they're probably playing a team that you're competing with in the playoffs, and now you've just taken away a player that may help them. Yeah,
I
right.
mean, if something happens, they're like, you should suspend them for that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And does that make you feel better?
Yeah.
Like, I actually don't know what else it does for you. But the game is played so hard. So say we suspend or we fine or we do something. you hope that they learn from that.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest with you, the game is played so fast and such intensity. The last thing that somebody's going through their mind is, oh, don't do this, I don't want to get suspended. It's never going to be on their mind, ever. They're never worried about a suspension. They're worried about, okay, am I going to get this stick in the face? Or if I hit this guy, am I going to get beat up by somebody coming?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's getting less and less. We don't have to worry about guys getting beat up anymore because there's just not enough of it anymore. But so, we try to deter the best we can, but you're not gonna reach everybody. I mean, I think Tom Wilson, for example, who's public enemy number one for a lot of teams, but a player that probably every team would like to have.
Right.
He really has, I think, learned from his suspensions, and his suspensions are big, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the next one, it's always going to continue to be big. But I think if you watch him play now, he's still going to finish his checks, but I think he's trying to slow up a little bit. He's just such a big man and can skate fast.
Yeah.
So when you put that combination together, you're going to have some pretty good impact. So I think he's been, obviously this year he's been hurt most of the year, so we haven't had to deal with him. But I think just in general, I feel like what we do is you can see in a player like him and a character like him, you see us maybe reaching him.
Yeah. It's an impressive office, by the way. Do you ever get there, or are you always remote?
Well, you'd always go a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times, and then COVID hit, and then obviously we didn't go. And now we've moved offices. We changed. We're in the Hudson Yards area now.
I saw that. I was just there
it's a beautiful facility.
It really
is. And it's done right. So I'll try to get there 1 or 2 times a year. Usually the start of the season, maybe once in the middle, and then just before playoffs. We have a little, like every department does or every company does. You have like a little, celebration for the end of the year and charge up, get ready for the playoffs. And in our department, I'll be honest with you, they're hockey fanatics, all of them, and they love the game. They love to be around it. They love to watch it. They love to comment and talk about it. So whenever you're around it and you have the opportunity to be with some guys that didn't necessarily play the game and play the NHL level, but they know what they're doing and they know the game very well.
Just going back to one other thing that you said, there's a lot of focus clearly on headshots. What do you want people to know about that? You mentioned the speed of the game, and that's something that people have to factor in that they haven't experienced themselves. But there's a lot of focus. We got to get this out of the game. We just got to take headshots out of the game entirely. What is the department's sort of stance on that?
You're never going to get a headshot out of the game. It's physically impossible to have a headshot taken out of the game. Anytime somebody's going to hit me on the ice, or Keller, for example, in today's, everybody forget who I am, but so Keller's the same size as me. Anybody who hits us, likely you're going to hit our heads because we're going to be at the chest height for everybody. So there's no way to avoid hitting somebody's head. Now, whether it's an elbow directly to the head, or if it's your head bouncing off the glass is always a danger thing. But that's just a hit that's going to happen. I think where we have to get rid of the ones we're trying to get rid of are the clips. Like you're going side east west and you clip one. I think it was Savard back in the day in Boston. He takes a shot going one way and gets clipped just on the jaw. Those are the headshots that we really want to eliminate, because those are the ones that are kind of right on the button that you can avoid doing. And the problem with that, though, Craig, is if I'm going east-west and I take a shot and at the last second I just kind of pull up a little bit, now my angle for the hitter, he has shoulder at one point, and if I pull up, now all of a sudden my shoulder's not there, and you go through the head. And it's not like it's a deliberate one, but it looks deliberate because he's going to finish that check. He's going to finish it no matter what. And then the player changes the angle of it, and now he gets hit in the head, which is, knocks him out cold, or, he's in concussion protocol. And is it a suspension because he did that? Well, probably not. And that's how we look at it. The guy just moves his head just prior, and he got hit in the head. And it's unfortunate, but until you get rid of hitting in hockey, which it seems that's where we're going, I don't see you getting rid of headshots. It's always going to be a part of the game, and it might be part of the standard players contract where there is an acknowledgement of some kind that you play a game that you are going to get
hit in the head,
and you don't have to play it. You can choose to not play hockey and or live with. There's a chance that you could get some CTE in your life, or I don't know what the answer is. You certainly don't want that, but when you play a contact sport, I don't see how you can avoid it.
Well, you bring it up. The one thing, and the last thing I'll say about this topic is the speed of this game has increased tremendously. The skill level of these players and the speed that this game is played at. Go watch a game from the early 90s and then watch a game from today, and it's not the same game. There's more sticks, there's more physicality in the game, more fighting in the game back then. But the speed these players play at, and it's easy to frame by frame and go, oh, look what he did. Yeah, but go watch it in live motion.
Yeah.
The speed that both players are playing at is incredible. What I've noticed this season is I haven't seen a lot of, you see the fines, but you haven't seen the suspensions, the numbers of suspensions that you had maybe even 5 years ago. Do you see that as your role that those suspensions are coming down?
Well, George puts a presentation on every year for the board of governors and for the general managers, and I think the suspensions are pretty much, they're still pretty level. I think this year we're down a little bit, but the infractions for which we're doing it seem to always be a little bit different. This year I think we've suspended guys more for stick violations than headshots.
Yeah.
And for example, we suspended Thomas Hurdle from San Jose when opening face off the third period, Lindholm for Calgary cross-checks him, three in a row, and he turns around and gives him a whack across the side of the face with a stick. And I'm like, the difference in the old days, if you cross-check a guy once, you might get away with it. Twice, you're probably not. You're going to be in a fight, definitely by the third time. And that, because there's not any fighting anymore, very little, we see people using sticks to hit people rather than fight. And I'm not sure which is more dangerous. I mean, you can always hang on and not get beat up and be done with it. I'm not sure how you defend, taking a slash in the face. So, which also gets us to why I think the Michigan should be taken out of the game as well. Not because it's not a great skill play, but how do you defend it if the puck's 3.5, 4 feet in the air on somebody's stick? How do you defend it as a defenseman? Well, likely it's going to happen is somebody's going to turn, try to slash it off his stick, miss, break the guy's jaw, knock his teeth out or something. And we're going to call for a 10-game suspension or something silly like that. Where a puck is, shouldn't be on somebody's stick blade being carried. So I just think from a player safety standpoint, it's pretty fancy play. I like it. I could never do it, but I fear for the time that somebody's going to try to defend it with a stick and accidentally get a guy in the face. So, but I see that's kind of where we're heading right now with infractions.
Yeah.
I know, Krager, you always lean in there.
Yeah.
You got a little snowflake too.
Yeah, you do.
Bit.
You send me the snowflake emoji a lot.
That's right.
We definitely want to ask you more about the state of the game today. Before we move on, for the second time this week, Petey's drinking at 11 a.m.
Yeah, that's okay though.
And we decided it's fine because it's the WOW, which has a little orange tang,
juice in
so
it.
it's essentially like drinking orange juice in the
I
morning.
mean, drunk Petey is always amusing to me, so he can drink whatever
Exactly.
he wants.
Oh, you're just cracking it open.
Yeah, no, I was having coffee to wake up first, and now it's
Now it's on to Four Peaks. Love it. We love Four Peaks here. Obviously, WOW is one of our favorites for sure. So check out Four Peaks wherever you can buy your beer. And if speed and adrenaline is more at your speed, the Beer Can Derby is on February 25th. That's this Saturday at Four Peaks 8th Street Pub in Tempe. Pickups are open now. So if you want to show us you got the fastest beer can in the valley, sign up through fourpeaks.com/events, and you must be 21 or older to enjoy responsibly. And also, speaking of responsible enjoyment, betting on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, it's a lot of fun. You can bet on anything. The NBA is finally back at the end of this week. We're not going to get to see Kevin Durant this week, but maybe next week's going to make things really interesting, and so will the NHL trade deadline. I've been saying for weeks, put money on futures now before big moves happen. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that code PHNX. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. That's only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
And I'd like Ray to call the league and get a goal change from last night on that Gostisbehere shot with Keller in front because I had an anytime goal scorer for Shane Gostisbehere. And they gave it to Keller. He didn't touch it. But that paid plus 270.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime, 270.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Kels felt it nick him.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Not hit me. Yeah, like just
Chasing a big point total.
like hands-on Verbata used to do after when Ray was playing. Those two would be with the PR guy after. That's before it was like the league checking. No, I touched it, Reach. And it was like back and forth. They were arguing. Until I was the second deceased.
Yeah, back in the day, he was always trying to get a little extra if he could. Yeah.
So wait, I think Petey was talking to you about this earlier. Did you go to the outdoor game in Carolina?
I did not. I went to Blaine, Minnesota with my son's hockey team, and I missed a pretty. I've talked to a lot of people from there that went to it. They said it was the Carolina did an amazing job. It was like anything with Carolina. They're passionate fans. It's the fact is they're passionate about basketball and then hockey and then and then obviously football. But they will pack you something like that. They will come, and it's a great place to play. Actually, it's once basketball winds down a little bit, especially and they'll get the playoff time there. It's a great place to play in the playoffs.
And you talk about that's a place where you've won too, and I think that binds a group of players together better than anything is winning a Stanley Cup. And I tell you what, watching that on TV, they did a phenomenal job. Like I would have actually liked to have been at that one. Didn't look too cold either. Do you ever go back to Carolina? It's
been a while since I've been back. My nanny or our nanny, she moved back there, and then when she had her son, my family went back there to see them, and it's probably been a couple of years, 2 or 3 years since I've been back. But it's funny once you get stuck on your side of the world, being on the West Coast, you don't go much to the East. I mean, I go to New York, for work every now and then with my son's hockey, you're in Detroit, you're in Boston, you're traveling like a regular NHL team, except you're not an NHL team. So we get stuck over here now. We tend to go more north south than we do east west.
Did you ever play in an outdoor game as a kid or as a pro?
No. I mean,
you had to play outside when you were little.
I played outside my whole life.
We all did.
And that was plenty cold.
It's a bougie Craig. I can't see him playing outside.
I played outside.
You did not.
Yeah.
I need a hat, Mom. It's too cold. I was like, there's no way. Bougie Craig? Where's the Perrier?
No, not Pellegrino. Come on.
Pellegrino.
Pellegrino.
He does the Perrier as well.
He had like a bottle. He played goal too on the back of his net. He had Pellegrino and a bottle.
I'm like every other kid in Canada. We played outdoors most of the days. So I had to be back at home for dinner at 6. I'd leave my skates and everything there at the rink and at the outdoor rink in the shack and just run home, eat, and run back. So,
okay. So next question, obviously the NHL trade deadline, it's a week away. What's that experience really like for players, either on the trading block or for the locker room, either both sides, knowing that your team is probably a seller, or the reverse, knowing that your team is in the hunt, trying to make a run?
Well, times are different now. I think when I was playing before the salary cap era, it was, you definitely were nervous.
Yeah.
Because you just didn't know. Well, you usually knew which teams were selling, which ones weren't, but whether you were going to be a part of it or not. Believe it or not, in all those 8 teams, I only got traded one time, and it was when I was injured, so it really surprised me. I hadn't played in a month and a half, and I got traded from Florida to Columbus, so that was surprising. I didn't expect that to come, but in today's world with the salary cap and there's so much that goes with it to make a trade that I think you generally have an idea who's going to get traded or who's not going to get traded. I think maybe once in a while you get a young guy who's making under $1 million to get traded. Just like the other day, you guys made one for a young guy. But those type of trades I think happen. But every big one, I know Jacob Chikrin's in the, he hasn't played in a couple of weeks because of it. I'm waiting to find out what's going to happen with him. But I think it's safe to assume he's got something coming. But as far as anybody else inside that locker room, I don't really know if there's a whole lot that it's usually a bottom guy that gets dealt this time, just because money-wise, you just can't stuff it in there anymore. Guys, most good teams are already at the limit.
How does it impact a room? Like we hear, we just tune it out. But, then players will tell you after they retire, no, you don't tune it out. It preys on your mind. Like Keith Yandel just told me that. It preyed on his mind. He was on the block for like 4 years.
Well, yeah, when you're on the block and you're on the block and the media's putting your name on the block all the time, it's hard to ignore it. But I found when I played, I actually didn't care, to be honest with you. I was like, I didn't mind going to new teams. I didn't mind the whole process. Who really struggles with it or who really gets the shaft on it, to be honest with you, is the families. It's the wife who has to. I get moved to a new team or just something. Man, I get right in there with 22 new best friends, and the wife has to go find a new home, new schools, new doctors, new pediatricians. It's endless for what they have to do. We just pack a couple bags and go hang out with our buddies, and then our new buddies in another room. So I think the wives actually take the brunt of the trade deadline, and it's probably the worst on families than it is on players. But I'm sure that some of them are really like, oh man, am I going? Am I not going? But for the most part, I don't think nowadays it's as big of a deal in terms of who's going. I think when you're going to go. Like Patrick Kane, he knows if he's going to go. He knows where he's going to go.
Yeah.
I don't think he's too worried about that.
But you brought up a good point though about your life as a hockey player, no matter what city you're in, you're doing the same thing. You're going to the rink, you're practicing, you're getting on a plane, and you're traveling.
Right.
It's the same, no matter where you are. It's a little colder in some places, but it's the same.
Yeah, you might pack a jacket more often than you do. Yeah.
But when you go back to your time here in 2012, the playoff run, the Western Conference Finals, when you get to that trade deadline, you see all the teams around you doing something. Hey, they got that player. The LA got this guy. I think that's as important at this time of year for the teams that are in it to go, you got to do something. Like the Rangers just pick up Tarasenko. The Boston Bruins are going, oh, we got to do something.
We have to match here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the year we won the cup, actually, it's a good point you make, Petey, that we traded in January. A little earlier, we realized we had a good team, and Jim Rutherford kind of knew we had a chance, but we weren't quite as deep. So we traded for Doug Whit, I think the end of January. So it was a little before he got ahead of the curve a little bit. It was either going to be him or Mike Sillinger, I think, from St. Louis at the time that we got, and somehow we got Dougie. But then just before the playoffs or the trade deadline ends, and we bring in Mark Recchi. So he loaded up with two substantial players, and that depth was probably what ended up winning us the cup. We were three lines pretty deep. Literally on any night, if you ask Peter Laviolette, on any night, any of his top three lines could have been the number one line. Just by the fact that the talent level was so high in all three of them. So a good thing to have, and a good thing that Jim Rutherford recognized how good we were at the right time and made an early trade to get Dougie Whit and then filled it up with Rex after. So, and then when you had our run we went on, sometimes the trades you don't make are also the ones, we had a really unique situation there. I remember we went unbeaten in February, I believe, that year. We were looking like we weren't going to make it, and I think we ended up winning the Pacific, right? Yep. So I thought I was getting traded that year in February, to start of February, and I was going to welcome it because I wanted another chance to win. And this game is so stupid sometimes that all of a sudden you go undefeated, and Mike Smith is as hot as I've ever seen a goaltender get, and you go undefeated, and you're standing at the top of the Pacific looking down at everybody, and you're like, oh shit, maybe we are pretty good. So we didn't make any monumental trades that year, and I think the way our team got to the playoffs and how we got there with the group we got there with is probably why we got to the finals, conference finals. So who knows if you bring somebody else in there, if that ruins things a little bit or doesn't. So sometimes the trades you don't make are the ones are your best moves.
I kind of want to stick with 2012 for a second, just because you brought it up. Like, what can you just talk about that run? Obviously, you said the trades you didn't make, but like, what clicked about that team? What made it so special, and what do you look back on and remember about that 2012 run?
You know what? It was a team that everybody had a identified role too. You knew where you stood. We obviously had a great goaltender, but we had older defense too. We had some really, I don't want to say cagey. Our defense was a lot better than people think. And I was older. It wasn't something you could sustain for the 4 or 5 years, but Derek Morris and O'Coin and we had Ekman Larson back there at the time too. And Yandel. I mean, we had some really. Rusty Klesla was back there too. He was a little.
Roosevelt, another.
And Roosevelt. So we had older, veteran defensemen with a great goaltender, and then our top line was not considered necessarily a top line by other team standards, which was point wise was Verbata, Hansel, and myself, and we had a great power play. We had Donor sitting there, blasting one-timers from the side, and Hansel in front. So we made what we got on the power play. We defended well. We had a hot goaltender. Now the run, let's be honest, we probably should not have got through Chicago.
Right.
I think they doubled us in shots every game at least, right? And Mike Smith was just that good. He was doing double IV bags after games, not practicing and just doing. So it was an amazing run for the national team. I thought we were better than anyway. And then we hit a team. I don't know what they were on, but they skated at a different level after three rounds. And I was with Brad Richardson the other night. I just saw him and we were talking about it. He was big. I think they only lost 4 games.
Yeah, they were a machine.
It was the strangest thing. You watch a team skated faster, stronger, beat everybody to every puck for 4 rounds.
I thought they were giving them something personally, but that's just
I don't know what's in their Gatorade bottle, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just a sour athlete that got dominated there. So, but that was an impressive run. And again, that's what makes hockey so great is that I think they finished 8th in the conference, right?
Yeah, they snuck in.
They snuck into the playoffs and they win the Stanley Cup. I don't think you're ever going to see an NBA team who's the 8th seed win the national championship ever. I just don't think the parity's there, especially when players decide who's going to go play where. And, they get in the cahoots and they'll just join up. And so I don't think you'll ever see that. That's what makes hockey so great.
I hate to play what ifs. If LA doesn't get in that year and you play the Devils in the Cup final, you win the Cup?
I think so.
Yeah, me too.
I really do. And not to take anything away from the Devils.
Just the way that team was built.
Yeah.
The Coyotes team was.
We could just hang in there.
And he defended well.
We really did. And then we scored just enough timely. And I'll be honest with you. If Rafi Torres isn't suspended, I still think we get a little better chance against LA. I still don't think we beat them. They were just on a different level. But Rafi made people scared and nervous, and I just don't think they had enough nervousness to them. And
there was no answer to what they were doing physically, and Rafi Torres brings that. By the way, if you're playing with Rafi Torres, your own team needs to be aware too, because if everybody's going that way, he might be going that way, and he's a big, fast boy.
Yeah, he definitely made you aware when you were on the ice. That's for sure. And I think we played them 4 times that year. Rafi played. We were 3-1 in the games Rafi played against them. So, I think that was also a very key factor for us. Was
he had a little crazy in his eyes too? I remember.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean,
a
little crazy. I mean, the thing is with him, he was such a nice guy. But you're right. When you put a helmet on, it's like something wired. He's wired.
But he wasn't like a mean guy trying to hurt people. He was just he was like a dog on a bone. He's like he was just excited to play.
And he was heavy. Like people don't realize how
fast
he was fast, but he was thick and heavy. And he's kind of like the Wilson now, who Wilson's skill wise. Rafi was a skill guy in junior, but I think he found a different role when he got to the NHL. But when you're just big and fast and heavy, I mean, those collisions are going to leave an impact, and he left a lot of impacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Including Chicago.
Yeah. You touched on this a little bit already, but just how much has the league changed since you left in 2014?
Well, it's gotten, like Petey said, incredibly faster. Obviously, Connor coming in has set the tone for that. And skill-wise, when you see Zegras come in there with the skill level, it's not just Zegras, they all have the same skills. He just has the courage to try a lot of the things that he does during the game. But the skill level from top to bottom is pretty impressive, and the overall speed is amazing. And that goes just from the defense to forwards. It's just the game is played at a different pace, and like you were saying, in the old days you could hold some of that speed up and protect your defensemen and help. I'm not sure what the answer is to keep the game safe going forward. Maybe it's put the red line back in, or it slows it down a little bit. Get rid of that trapezoid so your defenseman can, or your goaltender can play it. Allow holdups, and I don't mean holdups, but you should be able to skate in front of a guy and obstruct him from checking. You can't put the hook on him like in the old days.
With your body.
But I think if you skate, for example, I see in the neutral zone a lot of times guys will chip the puck, and Connor's famous for it too. He'll chip it right behind the D, and knowing he's so fast, he can go around the D to pick the puck up because he's not allowed to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let him go. Whereas in our day, when you dump the puck, that D stood in front of you, and he'd almost put you to a stop. Well, I don't necessarily think it makes the game better, but it certainly makes it safer.
Yeah, it does. That's where you get worried when it gets that close to the boards with that kind of speed.
Yeah, I mean,
retrieving pucks.
And it's not even if you hit him. Maybe if you accidentally trip him at that speed, or you accidentally
feet get caught up,
and also it's broken femurs coming at that speed, and it's just
that's Keller.
There's certain exactly.
It's not accident. It's just the speed.
So those are the hits, Craig. Getting back to the player safety part, the things I don't like about the game are the little pushes on the hips from behind when guys are going in, which takes their feet out, going face first, or the slew foot or the kick, poking the back of the knee. Those things, I think those are the ones that you really can't defend and are the real dangerous ones. The hitting ones, I'm more of opinion. I played 23 years and I never got knocked out, and I had the puck on my stick a lot. So if you're getting knocked out, you're probably just not aware of your surroundings enough, or you think that there's no hitting, one or the other. So, I see Keller cut to the middle all the time. He knows when to get rid of it and when to watch who's coming. So I don't think he's going to get knocked out anytime soon, unless it's a flying chicken wing. But I think we're getting rid of those. I don't think there's a whole lot of those anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we talked about the lack of, blockbusters at the NHL trade deadline, but the NBA certainly has some blockbusters, including one right here in our own backyard with the Kevin Durant trade to the Phoenix Suns. And to celebrate, we have our brand new Slim Valley Reaper t-shirt in the PHNX locker. So grab this, go to the phnxlocker.com. Now, if you want to become a diehard, you can grab this shirt for free at sign up. If you're already a diehard, it's 20% off for you. So definitely check that out. Lots of perks to becoming a diehard, of course, like 20% off merchandise, 20% off events, and access to the diehard only content on the website, as well as access to our Discord, where we have a lot of fun chatting all day long, all game long. It's a lot of fun. So check out the phnxlocker.com and go phnx.com to become a diehard. And our friends at OGs actually promised Kevin Durant a lifetime supply of OGs if he were to become a Phoenix Sun. This is something that happened last year. Luckily, we had the receipts, and literally just today, OGs quote tweeted and said, yep, this offer still stands. So Kevin Durant, if you want to enjoy some OGs, you most certainly can. But if anyone else wants to enjoy OGs, check them out. The new strawberries and cream Happy Balance gummies are live on the shelves. And as always, you can find them at your local dispensary by checking out ogsbrands.com. You must be 21 or older to enjoy.
So you and Todd Simpson are probably the two best practical jokers in Coyotes history. But as Petey pointed out earlier, you're a much nicer guy than Todd Simpson. I'm not sure that's true on all
I
days.
didn't say it like that because I know Todd's listening because he listens to our show, I'm sure, every day. Yeah. Todd's pranks maybe went a little bit further and they were maybe a little more malicious. That's what I meant.
Yeah. How can I say that? Todd's a good friend of mine. I see him every summer. The sneak powder one was one he got from me. And my dad showed me that one back in junior.
So we had to tell people this because this to the day, Stan Wilson is still mad about this. Like the equipment manager, longtime equipment manager, nicest guy in the world, still mad at Todd Simpson for this. And I am not kidding.
No.
Pissed.
It's because he just didn't understand how little of this stuff that you need to use. And those you don't know what it is, it's just, I think police use it. It's a sneak powder to catch people who are maybe stealing from, within. Mm-hmm. And what it is just kind of an invisible dust that you get on it. Once it gets wet, it activates it and it turns bright purple. And then you can't wash it off. It takes about a week to come off, or you have to soak it in bleach, or it takes a long time. So I did it in Florida. It was our last practice of the day. We were missing the playoffs. We're at the practice rink. My dad already told me how much to use. I got there early and I put it just in people's socks, in their foot socks. And except Rob Niedermeyer, I did his whole bag. Just because.
That's awful.
So we get on the ice, and I got to tell you, it's the one practice I really could not practice. I was laughing so freaking hard because guys get in their hand and they start sweating, and they're looking at their fingers, and their fingers are blue and purple, and I'm like, what the hell's that? And then I saw a couple guys with a streak across the forehead where they accidentally wiped it, and I'm dying laughing, and Rob Niedermeyer goes, look at my hands, like. He goes, what kind of gloves? I said, well, this is that. I got these new Easton too. Mine leak a little bit of ink too, like a little color. Mine did. I soaked them in water for a couple of days first, and off he goes, and I was done. So anyway, practice is over. I leave, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here quickly because they're gonna know. So I don't even shower. I just put my stuff on, and for some reason, the last practice of the year, I guess nobody wanted to stay out there for extra because guys started coming in, and Alex Hicks, who's now the assistant coach at ASU, he was one of the guys. He lived in my neighborhood. He takes off his skates, and his white socks are just bright purple. He's like, what the frick is this? And then I see him at home later. I get out of there before the guys come. He tells me to come over, and I go to his house. And everybody wears sandals, right? Because it's in Florida in April, or beginning of April. So there's fans waiting. These guys walk out, Barney purple feet, except Rob Niedermeyer. He was purple from head to toe.
No.
And so, what are the people going to do? We play a game the next day. That's it.
Yeah.
No more. So I got away with one there, and I was blaming Dino Cicerelli because he wasn't playing at the time, and he had come back to the around the team because the season's about to end. So I was blaming him, and people were actually thinking, well, he could be it.
Could be it.
And then I went to the World Championships, and when I got to the World Championships, I opened up my bag, and I had about 4 or 5 rolls of tape around my skates that were just. It took the trainers some time to get that through, but they knew. They knew, but that if that's all, I got them pretty good. It was good. But anyway, Todd took it too far, put it in everywhere, and it got over the main locker room. ruined jerseys, ruined gloves,
Gloves,
pants,
carpet.
ruined carpet. I mean, to Todd's credit, Stan said he had the money there the next day in cash to pay for it all, but just didn't know. Oh yeah, it was a good bill.
It was funny though. I think
funny.
he left one player out to dry. I forgot who he didn't put stuff in. Was Ossie Vananen there then?
He was
I don't
there,
remember
yeah.
who it was. He left somebody out to dry
To,
and
like,
didn't
to
do that
frame
player.
him.
No, I
He
think
did himself a little bit.
Or was it Donor?
It might have been Donor.
I think he tried to set
Yeah,
Donor
it might have been Donor.
up, singing "Don't,"
Gave himself a little bit on his fingers, but
Yeah.
gave Donor none.
and then I think, and then he got Donor a little while later. He put it just in his jock strap.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh no!
So he was
Purple.
purple.
oh boy.
You were doing stuff even after you were away from the team, weren't you? Sneaking into the ice den, putting like water bottles in Donor's gloves and things like that. Open
Yeah.
water bottles.
This was 2 years after I retired. The guys had a nice little run going, and that was Hansel was still here, and those guys. So they'd won 4 or 5 in a row. They were doing really good. So I got into the. I had a card to the room. Stanley gave me a card to get in there, and if I needed tape or something for Hudson, I get his laces or whatever. So I went in there, and all the guys I knew. In fact, even the ones I didn't know, I squeezed all their helmets, made it small. Feel like their heads are too big. You guys won 4 in a row. You guys, your heads are so everyone went to put their helmet on. None of them fit. None of them fit. They're like, what the hell's going on? And Donor always being the last one to get dressed or come on the ice. So the whole room's in there, and Donor goes in there. He grabs his shin pad from up top, and I had a cup of water. I had water in both of them, and he pulls it down, and his cup of water just splashes all over him. And he looks, and some young guys, I remember Max Domi being the guy who goes, "Oh no, somebody got Donor. He's gonna be so mad." And Donor, obviously never swearing, frickin' Wits. He goes, and then Domi goes, "Wits, who?" He goes, "Frickin' Wizard. He did it." He goes, "That guy's been gone for 2 years, retired for 2 years, and that's the first guy you go to?" He goes, "I guarantee it was him." And then they all start putting their helmets on. They're like, "Oh, he got all of us."
Unreal.
And it was a small thing. It didn't take all it takes is just pop the wings on the helmet, open it again. But
Enough.
it was harmless. Yeah,
Remind you're there.
And then Donor, I cut his laces all the time, but realizing it actually wasn't punishing him; it was punishing
trainers.
Tony.
Yeah.
Well, Tony had to relace his skates all the time for him, but I always like doing stuff like that. The harmless little things that somebody just tapes their sticks for practice and they'll put them right in the doorway on the way out. Well, I'd take them and I'd go hide them, put them somewhere else. So they go out for practice and they can't find their sticks. And it's just it's nothing, but it's funny when you're sitting down there watching it. Watching a guy look for his sticks when he has no clue is actually a lot of fun.
Which leads us into something perfectly when we talk about having fun. Does that lead us into our video?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we need to ask you about this because the whole, where's Whitney thing, you like to have fun, obviously. And this is something you're kind of known for in your time as a player. So this is a compilation video, and it's not even all your greatest hits. It's just some of you photo bombing, interview bombing, if you will, to say that kind of caught wind among the fans. But what started that?
Just an idiot. It's actually a laziness on my part in terms of everybody gets prepared for a game. These guys are stretching and they're taking hard strides, and I don't stretch. So when I get on the ice and warm up after I do the first lap, I shoot a puck and I'm looking around. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
I literally do not stretch. So I sit down there and I look in the crowd, or I'll shoot pucks at players as they skate by. And then once they started these bench interviews, I'm like, well, I'm just going to mess around here a little bit. And I had some good ones too, where I would come up from the bottom, peek my head over top, and remember come back down.
There's one where you're like a blowfish too, where your whole face is like,
I mean, and so I started doing that in Carolina, right? And Peter Laviolette, who him and I get along real well, he's watching warm-ups, but he's watching it from the telecast. And he finally goes to the coach. He goes, "You guys ever watch warm-up?" And they're like, "No." He goes, "Just watch warm-up. Watch what Whit does in warm-up." He actually doesn't do anything. He just skates back and forth behind the guy getting interviewed. And so that we were in LA, and it's probably a month into it. He goes, "Guys, I don't know if our morning skate, we have a video session." He goes, "I don't know if you guys know what Whit does, while you guys are getting interviewed." And then he starts showing all these videos of me going back and forth. And then it became everybody wanted to do it. So I stopped doing it for a while because as soon as people want me to do something. But like that stuff, I love going back and forth. And leaning back and trying to
this stuff.
trying to make Walsh uncomfortable. And,
These awkward stretches like you're a ballerina.
Yeah,
or
like I'm
something.
really stretching. Right? Like I don't stretch anyway. So, in the end, what we do for a living is a game, right? And it's meant to be fun. I know there's, you want to win and there's some seriousness to it. But if you don't have fun in anything that you're doing, I just don't know how you can enjoy doing what you're doing. So, I was maybe had the ability better than most to be able to turn it on and off where, once warm up was over and we got in the locker room and it was time to go to work, I was, but I gotta be honest, even once the game started too, I'd still screw around too. So these TV timeouts now, they're fairly new, later in my career, the refs would put the puck down at the face-off it's going to be at, then they go huddle at the penalty box. Well, as soon as they weren't looking, I grab the puck and I throw it in the crowd. And so they come out of their little huddle, blow the whistle, we come up and they go to the dot. They're like, where's the puck? And then they look at each other, where's the puck? Like, you're supposed to put the puck down. And he's like, I put the puck down. And then they're looking around like, so now they have to go back and get the puck, right? And I did it for games and finally they busted me. So they were pissed off.
But you think of that, how little there's, and it's those kind of things that I think we talked about 2012 and how that team bonded. I think it's stuff like that helped get a group tighter together. And I look at hockey today, and I think if you did that to some of the players today, especially some of these young guys, they'd have their agent on their phone, their mom on the phone.
Well, it might be considered bullying. Or,
you don't hear it anymore.
In the workplace. It's such a touchy society that we live in now that I'm not sure you could get away with a lot of things you did. I mean, if I bolted down the trainer's shoes to his locker nowadays, I'd probably get a bill for the shoe.
Yeah.
But that's also pretty funny watching a trainer trying to get his shoes out of the locker. He can't. It's bolted to the floor. That stuff's fun. That's just fun stuff to me. I mean, but getting back to Todd Sims, we've had guys who they'll go to a barbershop and grab the hair from the barbershop and then they're pissed off at a guy. They'll put Vaseline over his windshield and then throw all the hair on the windshield. So it looks like it's kind of funny, but you can't get it off.
Yeah.
Like you can't, your wipers don't even work doing that. I mean,
it makes it worse.
You gotta get your head out the window and take it to an
See, that's what I mean. That's maybe a little bit.
That's a little bit much. I mean, it's because then it's dangerous because the guy can't see you driving home and then.
Yeah, but you don't think like that. You just think it's funny.
You think it's funny. Yeah, the guy's got hair all over him, over his vehicle. So, but the game itself is meant to have, have some fun while you're doing it. Know the seriousness once you start, and do that. But man, in the end, it's just a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Well, we do a segment on the show weekly, usually in the summer, but every time we have a guest, we like to ask them. We do a segment called Weekend Binge. So it's Thursday. We're close enough to the weekend.
Okay.
Is there anything that you're binge watching, a show you love, a movie you love, something you're watching right now that you can recommend to us?
Oh, well, I've watched probably nothing that everybody else hasn't watched. I did the Yellowstone. It went to 1883. Now it's the 1923. I think it's
second time this week we've heard this.
Yeah. So I just started watching that, but with COVID, you binge watched everything. I did The Handmaid's Tale. Succession was awesome. A great one. Billions was a great one. I mean,
another good one.
There's just so many. There's this new one I've heard great things about. I haven't watched it yet. And it's the Ryan Reynolds, the soccer team that they have.
The Wrexham.
Yeah, I heard it's really good. The Formula One, if anybody hasn't watched the
Drive to Survive, I'm obsessed.
You'd be amazed now and a whole new appreciation for what goes on in that sport and how you have the little dogs and the big dogs and how they just prey on each other. It's interesting, but I feel for that. That's a cutthroat business over there, but great series to watch. So movie wise, I just don't think there's much out there right now that really...
TV's so good.
You can always go to Leah's favorite, Love Island UK. You see
Island
the wizard
UK.
sitting watching the.
Listen,
there's another good one. What's Brittany gonna do with Tad this weekend?
Yeah.
It's good TV. It's a good watch.
It's good watch. X-rated or non-X-rated?
I mean, British TV is a little different than American TV. I'll say that.
I mean, you should have led with that one, Leah.
Yeah.
Casual 60 episodes if you have the time.
Wow. That definitely gets a few flights for you then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, Petey, you should pull out your script for
I'm getting ready.
You're
going to do yours first, right?
Yes, but before we get to that, everybody buckle up because it's coming.
Big time.
But before that, Petey had a pick'em going on Underdog Fantasy last night. Again, thank goodness they have insurance on there, Petey. You and I have to start doing that for the pick'em games. There's a prop coming out for this. I don't even know what to say. But if you want to play the pick'em game, if you want to do a daily fantasy, check out the Underdog Fantasy app. It's a super, super fun way to consume your favorite sports. NBA, NHL, baseball's coming up soon, all of it. Check it out. It's super fun. UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. Sign up with promo code PHNX and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100.
I just want to say before we start here, we've got a crowd forming for this ad read.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure when I read now. You see,
Petey's kind of a legend around here.
Yeah, I'm
a little more pressure when I start off.
All right.
So here, are we ready?
I'll
let you know when to hide the kids. So first, we're going to talk about Roman, and they address a variety of sexual health needs for men from ED to low T. Head to the website at ro.co/PHNX, complete a questionnaire, and get diagnosed by a licensed physician. Get free, discreet delivery, straightforward, and embarrassment-free. Now, Dan, if your kids are in the car, this is the time where you turn it down. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Leah?
I'm ready.
In the bedroom, oh, by the way, this has a title. This is the power play.
Okay.
Oh.
In the bedroom and in hockey, everyone wants to score. And both, it starts with entering the zone. If you are having a difficult time entering the zone because of soft entries, try Roman, and you will be coming hard on the forecheck in no time. Just like in the bedroom, and when your team is on the power play, sometimes you need a little bit of help penetrating the tight box. When the goalie drops down into the reverse VH, make sure you can get it up and slip it into the opening. When the puck gets into the dirty area, make sure it doesn't dribble by and you can't get one off. Lean into it with Roman and get good wood behind your shot. When the whistle blows and you hear the referee say, Roman, minor penalty for high sticking. But unlike penalties, with Roman, you spend way longer than 2 minutes in the box. Because they offer wipes that help you last 4 times longer. So just like your favorite goal scorer, when you find yourself with a wide open slot, make sure you can pound it through the 5-hole and bury it deep into the back of the net. Because the last thing you want when you're trying to score is to have your partner use a coach's challenge to see if it is all the way in. To learn more about how you can achieve your personal sexual health goals, go to ro.co/PHNX to get 20% off your entire first order. That's ro.co/PHNX. You don't have to be a wizard to play with a hard wand. Roman.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, that's one hell of an intro. That's
Yep.
what an ad. What an ad.
Yep. That's
Wow.
Got to pay the bills.
That was really well done.
Got to pay the bills.
He's had that one written for about a month.
Yep. Just wait till next month.
The hard wand.
The hard one.
he was
Hard one.
excited
The
to-
wizard plays
to
the
throw
hard
in
one.
the reference.
Yeah,
Glad
there's a
you were here
reference
for this.
Yeah, wow, that was good. I was like,
literally-
is he allowed to say that?
there.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's nothing. There's hockey terms.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I like
The reverse VH, by the way, we're not getting into it again today, but the reverse VH, I hate it. And I hope it goes away because all of these goal scorers, like you, if they would do that now to you, it's just, I'm going to shoot top corner every time.
Yeah.
Come around the goal line, I'm shooting the top corner. You're seeing it now.
Yeah.
The skill's too high. Get up. Stand up, goalies. Stand up.
Well, you see how Bedard scores, the junior kid that everybody wants. He scores.
Yep.
I would say he's got 20 almost.
Yep.
Short side from almost the goal
Bad
line.
angles.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mm.
Oh man.
We also have to do before Ray leaves. I don't know, we've seen in the back of our studio if you're watching on YouTube. Craig was able to get us a Ray Whitney jersey, an actual Ray Whitney jersey
Yeah, I
from
mean-
the team. And we would like Ray to be, I know we're not going to do it during the show, but afterwards
Wow.
we're going to get Ray to sign that for us.
Well, Leah said it best. If she put all the jerseys I wore up there, they'd run out of camera big enough to put all of them up.
We'd have to have like a 10 camera
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. So it's funny that my kids went to the Open with his teammates and that, and they went there with all 8 of them had a different Whitney jersey on.
You're kidding
Oh,
at
that's
the Open.
That is awesome.
Which was kind of cool, and the trainers in Carolina made me one of the Hartford Whaler ones
Oh, wow.
with Whitney and 13 on it, which was a great jersey. Man, those jerseys were really something else. But it was funny. It's when I realized I really was a suitcase when I saw all them walk out the door with each had an individual jersey on. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Anything else you want to get to before we go? I mean, we could go on for another hour, but
just want to say thanks for coming down.
Of course. I mean,
I know you packed water and
gas money coming.
That's a reimbursement for you.
Yeah,
mileage.
Submit your receipts.
Pack a lunch.
Yeah, you guys are doing great. It's a great facility. You guys are killing it. Thanks for having me on. And like I said, anytime I can help you guys out, of course, glad to help.
Thanks,
Thank
Whit.
you. Well, we appreciate you coming into the studio. It's just crazy to think that you were a guest on the show 2 weeks into our existence.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties.
Difficulties.
Yeah, I
we
do
learned
that.
better.
I do remember that.
We've grown.
Yeah.
Whit was ready to bail on us that day.
Yeah, we have come along.
Yeah, that was tough. It was kind of in and out. Yeah.
We had to change platforms a few
Yeah.
times.
Careful
You guys
with your
obviously
terminology
started-
after that read, by the way.
Yeah, you guys obviously let Leah take over.
Yeah, it was smart.
Smart, So you guys are doing great. It's awesome.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you coming in, and everybody watching live on YouTube or listening or watching after the fact. We appreciate you. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts as well. And follow PHNX Sports across all social platforms. There's always a ton going on, as well as subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. And lastly, you can follow us on Twitter at SPJustHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Craig S. Morgan, at Sean_DePaz. You can follow the show at PHNX_Coyotes. Thanks again to Ray Whitney.
And at NHL Player Safety.
Yes, at NHL Player Safety. You can
yes.
direct all your concerns that way.
Yeah.
Keep those ones clean and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And friendly.
Remember, I love you all. Yeah.
And there's real human beings behind all of this.
Yes. Yeah.
But we'll be back Sunday for the post-game show after the game versus Nashville. But until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.